And also waiting in the wings, I asked another one of our representatives, Adam Hattersley, to come back and join us before he's able to escape politics for a little bit here. I've had the pleasure of knowing Adam for a couple of years. I hope to get to meet Representative Escamani at some point in the future too. But Adam is here. I asked him to come in and talk a little bit about veterans issues, and then maybe since he's on his way out of Tallahassee, maybe tell us a little something about all the goofiness, I'll be polite there, that's going on up yonder on hilltop there in Tallahassee. So Representative Hattersly, you have the floor.
Thank you, Natalie. I appreciate it. And oh, thank you. And thanks to everybody in the Lakeland Democratic Club. You guys have been great supporting me the past, about 3 years now. And yeah, I might not be going back to Tallahassee, Natalie, but it doesn't mean I'm out of the political game. So, who knows what's coming next. But yeah, for some of you that don't know me, as Natalie mentioned, I am also a veteran. I did 8 years in the United States Navy. I was a nuclear submarine officer and deployed on a fast attack submarine out of Pearl Harbor. Then I went and I was an instructor at the U.S. Naval Academy. And while I was there, I volunteered and went to Iraq with an Army unit. And I served a combat tour for a year on the ground from 2006 to 2007. I was maybe about 25 miles away when Saddam Hussein was executed. So quite a varied and fairly intense military experience. And just how I got into politics right when I was commissioned in the Navy, which was about 3 weeks before September 11th, before going through nuclear power training. I was helping out at the local recruiting station where I joined. And I know some of you have heard this story. And we were there on September 11th. And, we had all seen the pictures of lines out the door of recruiting stations the day after Pearl Harbor in 1941. So we thought that on September 12th, we were going to have just, lines out the door of people wanting to defend the country. Just by a show of fingers, take a guess, how many people showed up on September 12th? Well, it was 0. Not a single person showed up. And when we asked around out in town, people, said, yeah, it's terrible what happened, but, they'll do something about it, they. And people forget that they comes from us. And if we don't stand up to defend ourselves or to do something, then a lot of bad things can happen. And I really kind of feel that's been an allegory in the past 4 years. That's really why I ran for the State House in 2018. It's why I ran for Congress here this cycle. And it's why every single one of us has to not just get out and make sure we vote, but make sure your friends vote, your family votes, their friends and family, because Anna is absolutely right. If we're able to mobilize our voters, especially women, we will take this election hands down. Donald Trump has done a lot of pretty nasty things, between over 20,000 documented lies, but he's really been treating the military very poorly and trying to pull the wool over their eyes. Even my father, who I hate to say is a big Trump supporter, he served in Vietnam. And when Donald Trump pardoned the Navy SEAL that was convicted of war crimes and circumvented the chain of command, even my father knew that was wrong. It just undermines the discipline and chain of command in the military. As Linda said, we are not suckers and we are not losers. We're the ones who stand up and do our best to pass the test that our founders put to us in the Constitution. Defending free speech, me personally, I stand during the national anthem, but I will defend your right to kneel because that is in our Constitution and is your right to do it. If I agree or not, it is your right to do it, and I will defend that. And so will most members of the military. But Donald Trump doesn't understand that, and he and the Republican administration have absolutely failed the test that our forefathers and our founders put to us. And I know that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are ready to pass that. As Natalie mentioned, it becomes pretty important to vote down ballot. You guys have some great candidates in Polk County. I was out waving signs with Jan Barrow on Thursday. I've been helping Jared West and Chris Cause and James Davis and Barbara Ann Katie and everybody running for the state house right there in Polk County. The things that happen in Tallahassee affect your lives far more than you realize. 64% of Floridians voted to pass Amendment 4 in 2018 and re-enfranchise felons and give them back the right to vote. 46 states have done that before us. Yet, just in Florida fashion, as we say up in Tallahassee, there's no good constitutional amendment that the legislature can't mess up. And that is absolutely true what happened again. I'd say it's pretty much just an exercise in voter suppression is what has happened over the past 2 years when it comes to Amendment 4. And when people are trying to take your right to vote away, you know that it's important, and you know you have something that they're scared of. So we have to make sure we get everybody out to vote. Anna also talked about assault on women's rights. There was a bill proposed in the Florida House of Representatives this past year, very similar to the bill in Alabama, banning all abortions, even in the case of rape or incest. Luckily, that one did not see the light of day, but there are those members that are filing those bills and putting them forward. Now, here's something you guys might not know about the State House, and this is why it's so important to get these guys elected. I see Jan Barrow signs, I see Jared West signs, I see Kathy Lewis signs on everybody's walls. In the past 2 years in the Florida legislature, every single bill that has come to a vote on the House floor has passed. Every single one. Out of the 720 or so bills that have been proposed, only about 200 each session get brought to a vote on the floor. Nearly 90% of those are proposed by Republicans, and out of those, about another 10 or 15% are the real bad ones, like the bad Amendment 4 legislation, the parental consent for abortion legislation, the banning of sanctuary cities and turning local law enforcement agencies and federalizing them, even though that's unconstitutional. Every single vote that comes to pass is only because the speaker wants it, and his members, his caucus, will vote for it for fear of retribution. That is not how government should work. It's absolutely not how government should work. We need more Democrats up there. Right now, there's 73 Republicans, only 47 Democrats. And this is the most we've had in 20 years. We need to vote differently if we want to see any changes in Florida. Amendment 4, the people put that Amendment 2018. But believe it or not, a Democrat had proposed that bill 6 years in a row in the Florida House. It got 0 committee hearings by the Republicans. The ERA has been filed as a bill by Democrats every year for 20 years. It has gotten exactly 0 committee hearings in Tallahassee. If we want something to change in Florida, we need to change how we behave in the ballot box. The current Amendment 2 right now, which will raise our minimum wage, that's been proposed in the Florida House 6 years in a row. But the citizens have gotten fed up with their legislature not doing their jobs. And so they're taking it upon themselves to propose these amendments, which is how the system should work when it comes to that. But the Republicans are trying to take your right to do that away too. We need to vote Democrats into office to make sure that we're able to protect everybody in Florida and your right to vote and your right to be heard. Thank you guys again so much for having me, Lakeland. This Democratic Club has done so much. Not just for Polk County, but for me personally as a candidate the past few years. I know a lot of you personally, and we'll absolutely be in touch and make sure you guys know what's next on the ticket for me. But thank you again so much, and thanks for letting me talk to you. We got to make sure to vote. I've already turned my ballot in. Who else has?
Yes.
Yes. Early vote by mail. Make sure everybody you know and everybody they know votes. If you contact 10 people each and they contact 10 people and they contact 10 people, just 2 or 3 steps down the line, we'll have more than enough to make up any gaps that we had, not just in 2018, but in 2016. Trump only won by about 100,000 votes. Polk County alone can make that happen, can change that. So thanks again, everybody. Thank you, Natalie. And thanks for having me on, and we will absolutely be in touch. And I'll see you guys out there waving signs and making calls, and let's get Biden in the White House.
Let's hear it for Adam. Yay, Adam.